The #1 rated pregame intermission and postgame show. The side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, west of the 51st state, Greenland, south of the 52nd state, Canada, and we are back. It has been less than 24 hours. Happy, is it daylight savings, daylight standard, whatever?
Daylight savings time.
It can go straight to hell. 4 kids this morning.
It should
Nobody wanted to get up.
It should be this year-round, though.
I agree.
That way you have
100%.
more daylight.
We need the farmers to put some lights out in their fields.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah,
But welcome in.
it sucks to lose the hour, but at the same time, it should be this year-round.
Now, we have a lot to get into on today's show. Not because Flyers-Devils is going to be the best game of the year. It may be. We don't know. And not because we are coming off of the heels of a heated confrontation post-game yesterday between a fan who believes that the Flyers should be actively trying to make the playoffs this year. Not that. Bill Meltzer's here. And what better way to start the show than with something that has nothing to do with the current team, but rather has something to do with a guy who was traded away about a month and a half ago? 2 months ago? It feels like so long ago.
Yeah.
January 31st. Yep.
We are going to throw the start of the show out to a man who was a key cog in this Flyers team entering the season, and certainly a few seasons ago. A player for whom this organization had a lot of hope. And now one who apparently has taken a shot at his former coach, the current coach of your team, your town, your Philadelphia Flyers. Let's go over and hear what young Joel Farabee had to say about Torts postgame as Calgary took on, who did they play? Anybody know?
Montreal
last night.
1-0 win.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Here is young Joel Farabee.
Handling the defensive responsibility, playing with those guys, and being out there in a 1-0 game at the end.
Yeah, it's a real treat. Honestly, I started my career in Philly, as a guy that would kind of go out there in the last minute, and then when Torts came in, that was no longer. So it's really nice to be trusted and to be out there, and playing with Coles and backs. They make it real easy. They're in the right spots. The amount of pucks they just touch or flag out is really impressive. So they make it pretty easy.
So there are no mixed words there. There's not a player who is waxing poetically about his time in Philadelphia, especially the end under Torts. Now, in fairness, Farabee hasn't exactly gone out and lit the world on fire.
Well, he scored a goal in 2 straight games now for Calgary.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Only one yesterday.
Yeah.
Nothing game.
Getting it going. The first month and a half, if you happen to take a look at the Twitter, I know that nobody likes to look at the Twitter. If you looked at the Twitter, the Calgary fans were underwhelmed, we'll say.
Well, as they probably should be, but at the same time, we got the experience at firsthand. If Joel Farabee plays within the hash marks, he's a fine player. He'll score you 20, 25 goals. It's when you start asking him to do stuff on the outsides of the game that you take away from what he does well.
Yeah. Also, a lot of times, and understandably so, right? It's a results-driven sport. Farabee, and I took heat for him. I don't care. I thought Joel in his first 6 games, Frost as well, actually played fine. He played in a lot of tough luck. Even the game where he got his first goal, they had one disallowed on a goalie interference call, and I think it was on Kadri. That was a terrible call, and that's one that came off the board. Hit a couple posts, was absolutely robbed once or twice. That's why you can't always just go by X number of points and X number of games. And I'll give you a Flyers example. Recently Noah Cates went through a stretch where he had no points in 11 games. But you could tell by watching him play, and the underlying numbers too, he was playing well, just nothing went in for him. I thought Joel went through a little bit of that early on with the Flames. And he's hopped around lines. He started out with the Kadri line. They put him with Frost for a while. And now he's back on the second line. And that's kind of been clicking the last 2 games. So I don't think you can always go by the numbers, but it was a little bit up and down for Joel. Same with Morgan. Yeah,
but it's really the thing. The conversation here is his comments, right? Yeah. About not being trusted by Torts. And I guess the question really becomes, should he have been? And the way he makes it sound, it was in the comment. it's a little bit flippant in the sense that it's like he was, as soon as Torts got there, I was no longer trusted, which I don't think that is exactly true. I think that there was a time when he was, and then he played his way out of being trusted, right?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You go back to the first 50 games last year. The 50 games where the All-Star break was. First 50 games of the year, he had 40 points. Almost all of it 5-on-5 because he wasn't getting very much power play time. I mean, I'll take 40 points in 50 games and he was going to the net consistently. He was among the NHL leaders in first goal of the game, whatever. Coming out of the All-Star break, he hit a rut. And it didn't take more than a couple weeks till he was moved down the bottom end of the lineup and stopping using high leverage situations. But, I mean, there were opportunities, I think, to work his way back up again. And for whatever reason, other than the first couple games this year, I think he had points in the first 3 games this season. But other than that, it really hasn't been really clicking very much for Joel. So it's one of those 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, right?
Yeah.
If you play me more, I'll play better. Well, I'll play you more if you play better.
Yeah. Andrew, do me a favor. Pull up a comment from Franco.
Oh! I was going to ask him to do that, too.
Pull up that comment from Franco. And the reason is because, look, Franco is a guy who's been following us for a long time. I like the guy. I'm a big fan of mine, has been a reader of mine for a long time. I can't disagree with this comment a little bit anymore, okay? So this is headed towards a torts-bashing pregame show, so I'm out. It's not a torts-bashing pregame show, Franco. What it is you had a comment being made yesterday by a former player about the coach. The team is in a bad slide right now, and the coach's message is not getting through to this team right now, okay? Then you had Chris Pronger go on Nasty Knuckles and talk about...
I did not see this.
He talked about how what happened to Coots last year is noticed by players around the league and could impact the Flyers come free agency. It's not a bash, right? We didn't suddenly come on the show and decide, let's kill the coach today. Other people talked about it, and we would be remiss to not bring it up.
In fact, this show, for better or worse, has actually given some praise to the coach, especially of late.
Yes.
And so how dare you, Franco65? You believe-it bastion of fandom and gatekeeper to the orange and black? How dare ye? No, we have to react to this.
We do. I mean, it's
if you want state-sponsored propaganda, there are places you can find.
Right,
but we here at the Press Row Show and Snow the Goalie, we call it the way it is.
Okay. All right. Now we don't need to be performative here. But the reality
What the hell do you think this show is?
We don't need to be performative. The reality of it is that if we had brought it up, right? If it was something that we just brought up out of the blue, then you could blame us and say that we're bashing the coach. This is something that came from outside, from former players. So that's why we have to talk about it. All right. Now,
I just want one other thing. You're going to start to find this. You are going to start to find other podcasts looking at John Tortorella's coaching contract. And unless it's extended, all of a sudden, a lot of the shows that have been... How do I say the thing that I want to say without it being inappropriate or getting us in trouble? All the people who enjoyed buttering his biscuit, we'll say, for a few years because they thought that there was no chance he was going to be moved on from, they all of a sudden are going to start to get a little bit more critical because at some point the team is going to have to decide if they want to have a lame duck coach next year with a one year left on his deal, or if they're going to want to extend him. And I don't know, Bill, like maybe I'll throw this to you. Which way do you think it would go? If you had to guess right now, feels like they're looking for a big off season, could try to be a player in free agency or via the trade market. If Pronger was correct, that the Coots thing last year could impact it, does this organization kind of recalibrate and say, all right, Torts, great job this far, great job with the culture, but in order for us to take that next step, it might have to come with a coaching change?
There's a scenario here where, let me preface this also by saying that, when Torts was in Columbus, he went through a lame duck season and said after the fact, just hired by the Flyers at that time, so it was the start of his tenure here, that was a mistake. His last season was he didn't feel he could be effective. He felt that Columbus should have let him go a year earlier, and it was bad. It wasn't a good thing for him either. When you look around the entire NHL, 32 teams, 31 of the coaches have something in common. They're born in the 60s or later. Coaching, just like players, are generally getting younger. I mean, Lindy Ruff is, he was born in 60, but you look around the way things are trending. You even have a coach that was born in 87.
Yeah,
it's getting younger, along with the players in the league. You're kind of looking this year as this is the off season where you either have to extend John, or you have to look ahead.
Yeah.
Now there's a scenario here where things kind of line up in a fortunate way, potentially, right? I think the Penguins finally realized they need to rebuild. Who is John Tortorella's protege? Mike Sullivan.
Mike Sullivan.
Mike Sullivan. Sullivan is almost certainly out after the season. Is there a softer landing than hiring his protege as your next head coach, a guy with 2 Stanley Cups, right? Tortorella slides into a hockey advisory role for the last year of his contract, and beyond that, maybe he continues in that role, maybe he doesn't. But it's a soft landing. You're not firing the guy. You're bringing in somebody who he's worked with for a lot of years, even just together in 4 Nations. Tortorella was actually agreed to be his assistant coach this year.
And only because it was Sully.
Only because it was Sully.
He said he wouldn't have done it otherwise.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So it was he only did the 4 Nations assistant coach thing because it was Sully. It's an interesting thought. It's an interesting thought. I don't necessarily know, and Bill, I mean, we'll have a lot of time to discuss this as we go into the offseason, but I'm not necessarily certain that Sullivan is the right coach.
I agree.
For this group either. I mean, he's a good coach. I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but
2 Stanley Cups. It kind of helps to have Crosby and Malkin on the team.
Right. Yeah, right, for sure. So, interesting thing. Another topic that I kind of wanted to dive into here with you, Bill, being on the show, because a couple people have brought it up, and we talked about it yesterday at the end of the game, or at least, I don't remember if it was post-game or second intermission, but either way, we talked about it yesterday. The goaltending situation is just an odd situation for the Flyers right now. I stated yesterday, and we've been kind of saying it all year, but I blatantly came out and said Sam Ersson, to me, is not a number 1 goaltender in the NHL. He's not a guy that can carry a team by himself. He's a goalie that can win within a structure. Yeah. And if the structure's working in front of him, he can look good, right? Kind of like the comparison I made was to a game-managing quarterback in the NFL, right? Same thing. But he doesn't have that ability to kind of take a team, put them on their shoulders, like what Hellebuck's doing this year with Winnipeg in a lot of ways. Great goalies do all the time. He doesn't have that gene in him. That doesn't make him a bad goalie. It doesn't make him not an NHL goalie. But it certainly, in my mind, does not make him a goalie that's going to be your long-term answer in that. And then you got Fedotov, who's been hit or miss whenever he's in. He either has a great game like he did against Winnipeg, or he has, he lets in goals and you go, oh my God, how did he let that one in? And then the kids in the pipeline, I mean, Kolsa, we know that's a mess, right, that whole situation. And the other kids that you have are way too young. They're still several years away. So is this a situation in your mind where as you go into the offseason, and we know this is going to be an important offseason for the Flyers, do you look to maybe add a veteran goalie for a 2 to 3 season run to pair with Ersson? Or what do you do? Like, how do you resolve that situation? Because I'll be honest with you can go out and get nice players around the forwards or defense or whatever. You can't win unless you have a goalie. And I don't necessarily think that guy's here right now.
The thing with Sam, right, is that it comes and it goes a little too much.
Right.
And I mean, you could look at the Christmas break, really until the home and home with the Penguins. Really solid, because that first game against Pittsburgh was one of those games that could have gone a little sideways. The Flyers still were going to win, but they're well ahead of the game, and he kept it kind of neat and tidy. Did have some structure in front of him. The second game of the home and home, he was working on a shutout midway through the game, and then it all went to hell.
Yep.
Everything just and it hasn't been right since then. But that's kind of been his history. Oh, look at last year down the stretch. Look at late in the season with the Phantoms a couple of years ago, where he was strong all year and then ran out of gas.
The injuries haven't helped either. It feels like a multi occurrence thing that happens every year now. Is he gets hurt, and then you're constantly in this like ramp him back up. Are you ramping him up too quickly? Does he then go down? Like, how many was it? 3 lower body injuries this year?
3 in the first half.
Plus, you had the 4 Nations break. He plays well against the U.S., comes back, and just hasn't looked the same since.
Yeah. Again, he had the one and a half good games, and then since then it's been a struggle. And the thing with Sam is that when it kind of goes a little sideways, yes, he's mentally tough, but for whatever adjustments it is, when it goes south, it kind of stays that way for a little too long. And I'll tell you that I think that over his history with the Flyers so far, and he's still reasonably young, but he's been pulled in more games than I'm all that comfortable with.
Yeah.
Games where you got to get him out in the middle of the first period because you have 3 or 4 pile up against and you have to change. That's happened a little more than I'm comfortable with. Now, whether you look for a 1A, 1B kind of a thing for maybe 2 years or something.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. Like, because whether it's Bjarnason or Therien, either one, whichever one is your guy, you're looking at least 3 years before one of them is ready to play in the NHL. So, or to be a guy in the NHL. So you probably need to tide that over for a couple seasons, and you can't wait that long to be a playoff team.
No.
Right? I mean, I think you start thinking playoffs as soon as next year, right? So I think that's going to be an interesting tightrope for Danny to walk, trying to decide who's going to be part of your goaltending tandem next year.
For sure. Listen, Fedotov has signed 1 more year. They brought him over, whatnot. While he's improved as the season has gone along and that kind of thing too, but do I want to go in counting on him? No. And Kolosov is just an absolute mess. Listen, he's going down the Lehigh Valley and he's going to get games. I wonder if some people in Allentown are a little uncomfortable with the thought of him playing 5 games.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's an interesting situation.
We'll see if he's any better down the AHL. I was actually I'm preparing the Alexei Kolosiv shirts.
Siv? Kolosiv?
Well, I'm trying to overpronounce it because the IE, but yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
It's not great. Now, can I just pitch the idea that perhaps the Flyers would be best off running this back 1 more year with the Ersson-Fedotov tandem, not signing a guy to a multi-year deal? I don't expect that Ersson or Fedotov is going to have some kind of divine intervention to become a number 1. But to Bill's point, Fedotov has 1 year left and then it opens up. If Ersson can prove to be a decent enough number 1, or you definitively know going forward he's a number 2 and you need to look for a goalie the following offseason, so be it. I just don't like the idea necessarily, and we talked about this post-game yesterday. You have Aiden Hill, who's a UFA. You have Jake Ottinger, who's an RFA at the end of the year. And outside of that, I don't see any names that I say, oh, hell yeah, let's go drop $6 million a year or more on a goalie. And of all the things that this team is going to need, I just don't see the value in signing a big money offer to a goalie.
This is all, part and parcel to. The Flyers had a good tandem going last year with Art and Ersson.
Redacted, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, when Ersson had to take over as almost your every game starter, that's when you ran into trouble.
But I think that's a great point, Bill, because let's just remind everyone, that's the combination that we're talking about, right? Sam Ersson in that role is good.
Yeah.
He serves that so he is an NHL goalie who can be a backup that plays a little bit more than most backups play, right? So, but that's it. He can't be the number 1 guy that you say go out there and shoulder the load.
Flyers had guys like that before. Antero Niedermacher was that same
thing.
Same boat.
It's so funny you said that. I said to Bundy yesterday. I said to him, Sam Ersson reminds me of Antero Niedermacher.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Niedermacher. It really does. That's exactly who he is. And I don't necessarily know if that's a great thing a great thing to say, but it is what it is.
I might be nuts, but like in the grand scheme of things, right? If they were to improve at the blue line, like let's say they move a Cam York in the offseason, they get a decent return, they target somebody who's a bigger body defenseman, right? And that blue line is just a little bit more fortified, right? You do that, and maybe you are able to add a top 6 forward in addition to having Lutsenko up here and maybe having whatever guy you hope you get in the top. Everybody hopes for top 3, top 4. Maybe that guy doesn't play next year. But, like, you're trying to get the team in front of the goalie better. And if Ersson ultimately is a system goalie, like, maybe there's a way to patchwork this thing, to continue to allow some of those younger guys to develop next year, and still actually make a push towards the playoffs. Like, I just don't like the idea of selling out to and getting in a longer-term thing with a goalie. I just don't like it.
Well, what's the longer-term thing, Russ? What I'm suggesting is only a two to 3 years max.
I always worry about the multi-year, especially when you know that you have guys coming up.
Yeah, but they're not going to be ready
system.
for 3 years.
You assume that.
They're not.
But you don't know.
They're 19, Russ. They're not going to be playing. What 19-year-old goalie plays in the NHL?
Let me tell you something.
Patrick Waugh.
Let me tell you
like
something.
Marty
I think
Brutor.
Zavragan turned 20. I believe he's 20.
Fine.
Now,
Okay.
So 2 years from now, he's 22. And 22 is not unprecedented for goalies in this league.
It's still very young.
He's very young.
Listen, there's always an anomaly in this league,
There is.
okay?
There are.
Why can't Zavragan be the anomaly? Anomaly.
It's
I get it. I get that I'm out of my mind. But, man, this organization has gotten burned so many times by getting a goalie that they think is going to be good. Not even talking about Briz. And it just doesn't work.
But no, I'm not trying to sit there and say they're going to go out and get a guy and they're going to sign him to a big contract.
Yeah.
You know, to be the savior. It's not that. It's that. Okay, listen, we need to take that next step and get into the playoffs, and we need a veteran goalie to help us get there. So it's a guy that you give a run to and say, okay, look, and then that guy is a guy that says, all right, I have a good season and I cash in on another contract the year after, whatever.
If we're talking like a 2-year deal and a guy's going to cost you $3.5 million.
Well, they're probably going to be. They're probably looking a little bit more.
I know it's
going
to be more, but
right?
I'm saying 3.5. Maybe there's a guy out there who, like, a team just believes is going to be their number 2, or the guy's not happy being the number 2, and you're going to give him a shot, and there's a little bit of a control there. Then fine. This is it's just my point. Whatever. It's
that's all. That's all I'm saying. I don't want you to think that I'm suggesting that this is going to block anybody from playing.
I got you.
Yeah. No. That's. But I'm not.
But who knows? Maybe next year it's Fedotov and Kolosov. Right?
I'm not convinced either of those.
Kevin Kerr's his favorite goalie, Alexei Kolosov.
I'm not convinced
either. The starting job next year.
I'm not convinced either of those guys are in the organization next year.
Where do you think the team's going to trade for Fedotov? Is that the thought?
I wouldn't
be a team that's intrigued because of the size.
Be surprised if he goes back to Russia.
You would or would not be.
Would not be
Switzerland or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Go play somewhere else. Yeah.
But then we can't sell any Iron Giant shirts. Shop.snowthegoalie.com. Get yours while they're still.
I'm just saying that would not surprise me if he ended up going somewhere else.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Right.
You know, and to your point about bringing in defensemen, right? You're not going to go get a true number 1 defenseman. They're just not there to be had.
Right.
But sometimes if you bring in the right guy, look back at when they brought in Matt Niskanen. The 1 year he was
yeah.
Right? Helped a lot because he fit. He checked the boxes of what they needed.
Right.
Niskanen was a nice player. He wasn't no superstar by any means, but if you bring in a guy that fits, checks the boxes that you need, he could help. Right?
Sure.
And there's
Sean Walker.
Sean Walker
was another one. I mean, they ended up flipping Walker for a pick, but that was a similar thing where it was a under the radar guy that you brought in and really helped the blue line, right? Because it was a good fit, checked those boxes, and I think that's exactly what the case is, especially since you have a lot of youth coming on the blue line that's not here yet. That you look at down the line and you go, okay. If even 2 of these guys hit, right? You start talking about Bonk and Gill and Hunter McDonald, and Grons. Like, that's 4 bigger-bodied players. Right. If 2 of them hit, then you're in a good spot, right?
Yeah, and also depending, of course, in where where you slot them the right way.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I think Emil Andre's an NHL defense.
Sure.
I kind of wish he was in the lineup today, although
we didn't get to that yet. That's coming. That's the next thing.
But I understand the Flyers are reluctant where you have Drysdale small.
Yeah.
Right? Andre's very small.
Yeah.
And
Drysdale small.
York is small.
York is small. Yeah.
York is small. Do you want to ice the lineup with 3 small defensemen?
No.
They don't. They don't. So they don't want to have all 3 in the lineup at the same time. So, you talk about York being restricted free agent this summer, whatever. Part of what they're going to have to do readjusting is there's a mix they want to have on the blue line. They don't have the right mix right now, and yes, they do have some younger players who I think have some upside to them. Do they have enough upside in what you need? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And you kind of led us into the next point there, Bill. Yesterday we had a long talk about Cam York being scratched. We even talked to Danny Briere about it. He was on the show with us yesterday, and he said that he has not lived up to his expectation this year, and when that happens, those kinds of things are going to take place. So the coach is going to scratch a guy. Well, Cam York is back in the lineup today, and he's taken Emil Andre out, and I'm not sure yet with where the Flyers and where the coaching staff is with this, because to me, if you brought Andre up and Briere said he's here to play the rest of the season, why is he a healthy scratch? And you got a guy in the lineup like Zamula, for example, who's your number 7, really, in reality. Like, why isn't you can have both York and like you said, they don't want 3 small guys in the lineup at the same time. But it's not like they're competing for something right now.
Right. They still have a chance to make the playoffs, Ed.
I know they do, but it's a long, long, long shot, right?
Yeah.
To me, it should be if Andre's here, he's playing.
And what I think Andre has shown, you talk about making that first pass, right? Starting the transition game.
Yeah.
He's shown he can do those things. Even when he's had a little bit of power play time, he's shown some upside there. I want to look at it. Right?
Yeah.
I want to see what you have. And I mean, the Flyers, as you mentioned, Zamula, you kind of know what you have in it.
Yeah, they thought about trading him.
Yeah.
Bill, I mean, they did. They had offers, and they just weren't good enough, and they didn't make it happen. But the reality of it is that, like, they don't view Zamula as a part of the future of this team. So why is he eating up the time? And again,
in a rebuilding season, what now is?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very clearly get the best read that you can on each of these players.
Yeah, and look,
that are here.
Andre did not have a great game yesterday. Didn't have a great game yesterday.
No.
Right?
Brutal game, but so the whole team. But yeah.
But he wasn't alone.
No, exactly.
Certainly wasn't alone. And I don't necessarily you put him in one game and that's it. And I mean, I know he'll get back in, but the reality of it is that that's one less game of evaluation that you have at the NHL level. I don't understand the decision.
Against a team with a lot of speed and a lot that's the kind of team I want to look at them. But
there was a comment over here. Paperface says Z just needs to get better. Only way is by playing. I'll tell you what. I spent years trying to get better at shooting a basketball. I really did. I kept trying and trying. And I thought shooting more was going to make me a better shooter. And you know what happened? I got slightly better, but there's only so much you can do. Zamula could play.
Well, of course, there's only so much you can do when you're 5'4".
First of all, 5'6". Second of all, I was playing against 13-year-olds at the pool complex.
And you were 31?
No, I was like 25. Okay. And let me tell you, those middle schoolers, they didn't know it. They ended up on Joy Island. I'm a great defender. It doesn't matter. Zamula could play every night, and he's not going to become a legitimate every night defenseman. He is a number 7. Is it possible that on some teams he could be a third pair defenseman? Sure. Could you figure out a way to finagle him into a lineup and have him be your 6th defenseman right now? Sure. Ultimately, what's the point?
Right. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, if you're looking at beyond this season, who are your defensemen? Is Zamula part of it? No. So why is he eating up the time and not,
Josh knows.
He's 6'3".
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, that's almost as funny as the comment earlier that said that you look like you were doing a commercial for
Duluth.
For Duluth Trading Company.
When I picked this out, I was like, I want to look like I'm going onto the set of an outdoors lumberjack ad. So I'm glad that resonated.
I'm gonna Joe, I guess Papel is the last name. I'm going to reply to his comment here.
Can you pull that up for Bill, since Bill can't pull it up?
Which one
I
are
have
we trying to pull
it.
up?
All the young D need to play.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it.
Said, yeah. Everyone from Bundy back to Ed Van Imp and Joe Watson were awful their first couple of years. Well, Bundy was in the NHL All-Rookie team the first year.
Yeah.
Okay? Bundy didn't put me up to it. It's the truth. Look it up. Okay?
It's not because he's menacing behind the camera.
No. And both Joe and Ed Van Imp had some NHL experience, you know, and they kind of now there's plenty of guys who struggle early in their careers, work through the growing pains and whatever. I get where he's going with it, but you know, but there's also guys who went the other way. I mean, Yanni Nienema had a really nice rookie year with the Flyers and then didn't improve.
Right.
But at any rate, like specific to the case with Zamula, I think he's had enough. He's had several years at this point, and I don't think he's more consistent. There are games when he looks like an NHL defenseman. There's also many games where he doesn't look like an NHL defenseman, and I don't think, you know, he's not part of your top 6 moving forward. I want to get a look at other guys. What's that?
That was intern. It's #1 fan. Agreeing with him for once. There we go. It's a thing of beauty. All right, we got to get to predictions.
Yes.
Now is the time of the show. I actually have my prediction at the ready. I already added it to the spreadsheet along with intern Andrews.
Go ahead.
I have the Devils winning today, 4-3. I think the slide is just going to keep going.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going to go. I'll take the Devils in this one. I'm going to go 5-2 Devils.
Bill, do you have a prediction over there or no?
I do. If you want to look at a team that's had a worse week than the Flyers, it's actually the Devils.
I know.
They've had their doors blown off
by
few times
by
here.
Winnipeg last game, right?
Right. They don't have Hughes. They don't have Hamilton. You would figure this would be a game where the Flyers might win, but then I go back to the Calgary game. Hello. And, anyway, so I have the Devils 4-1.
4-1 Devils.
Get the mic really quick. Prediction.
What's your prediction, Bundy? Prediction.
Talk into the mic. Prediction.
Devils have been really bad too for 3 games. They're a desperate team. I'm gonna go 3-2 Devils.
3-2 Devils.
Which takes us to intern Andrew, who has sworn that he will only pick the Flyers until they win again.
3-2 Flyers.
3-2 Flyers?
Why not?
Wow.
I'll go against every one of you guys.
Intern's in trouble.
It's us against the world. Let's
Lead,
go black and orange.
His lead is just shrinking and shrinking.
Be a
and
real
shrinking.
shame if the Flyers win. Be a real shame.
He was in the pool. The pool was gold.
With
We're
that.
heading out. We'll be back. First intermission, second intermission.
Thanks, Bill Meltzer. Appreciate
Thank you, Bill.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Talk to all of you very, very soon.
what happened there?
Hey, what, Bundy? I know that you're committed to playing in the game. What if Hitch is behind the bench?
No, he ain't going to be
No,
here.
there's not going to be a lot of room there. Next question.
I bet you Hitch likes buffalo chicken pizza.
Hey, could someone bring me out some of those buffalo wings and some pizza?
We were talking
God,
about.
it's so good here in Philly. I love eating pizza and wings.
We were talking about pizza pregame, Bundy, and Russ was trying to ask me if what kind of
I want pepperoni and sausage on my pizza. Why is this not here?
Russ was asking me.
Hi, hello, welcome to the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show.
The one thing I can always say is that whenever you have a John Tortorella coach team,
Yes,
it always gives you something to talk about.
that is true.
Something.
Yes.
And in this, first intermission, the Flyers are down 1-0.
To quote Cody Rhodes, so what do you want to talk about?
How about the fact that Matvei Mishkov played only 4 shifts that period, was replaced by Travis Konechny on that line as Torts juggled things around, but Mishkov didn't play much at all. I didn't, Bundy. I don't know about you.
2 minutes and 20 seconds.
I didn't see anything like deliberate or something on the ice. I won't lie. I had to go up and down the elevator a couple times.
Yeah.
So I very well may have missed something that just transpired. But in a back-to-back, when you need every body because of the fatigue and the time change, it's weird that you'll have a player playing thin minutes in a game like this today.
Yeah, we'll see how it progresses into the second period. Was it just something that was just for the period, and then he's right back out there again?
It might be.
Or is it something where he's going to just sit him the rest of the game? We don't know. I mean, we'll have to find out. But I didn't notice anything egregious. Now, to be fair, I felt like the first...
Oh, there you go. Rob Greeley says Mishkov didn't back check on the goal by Glass.
Okay. I got to look at the play, and I'll pull it up and watch it. But... I don't know. I didn't necessarily think that was Mishkov's mistake, but maybe it was. We'll look at it, Bundy, when we get a chance. But yeah, I don't know.
Backtracking player, loose puck in front. I mean, I have to see it, but again, we're only going to see the goal. We didn't see the whole back play to it.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try and pull it up
I have it here.
The whole play.
You guys want to?
If you're going to pull it up on the screen, it'd be easier than watching it on my phone.
I'll have to remove this section from the stream, and that's a little bit of a pain.
Okay.
So I could DM it to you, and then you guys can watch it over there.
I can watch it on my phone.
Well, I'm saying you could show it to Bundy, or I could.
I can share it with Bundy on my phone too.
Okay.
But anyway, you slice it.
Here, just take a gander. Look.
Let's see.
The only reason that we're not showing everybody at home is because if we do, it's a whole long process to get it.
So where's Mishkov on the play?
Not in frame.
There. Okay. Yeah, he's trailing.
He's way behind the play.
He's way behind the play. I mean, that could be it.
That's it?
That's probably it.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
I mean, because Glass is the trailer there. He's the third forward in the zone, right?
Yeah.
So that's probably the play. I don't know. I mean, what's the benefit there?
Are you asking?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's the benefit of not playing him?
What message are you sending at this point in the season?
Well,
anything I say isn't going to be nice, so what does it matter, right?
Continually, he's pushing guys and pushing them to be better for the kind of hockey that he wants to see. You know, it's not easy seeing your young star benched in a game like this today. I'm thinking it might just be a first period thing, Anthony.
And if it is, then I'm fine with it.
Right.
If it is, I'm fine with it. If it's just for the period and he comes back out next period and he's playing again, no problem. It's like, hey, you can't have that happen. You got to learn from that. All right, fine. But if you're going to end up, if Matvei Mishkov doesn't play another shift in this game and just has to sit there and watch
I don't think he deserves that.
That's a lot, right?
That's a lot.
Right, okay.
Listen, a joke here that fans could make, we certainly wouldn't try to make here, is does Torts have money on Celebrini to win the Calder? Because it feels like with the, you look at it, Mishkov has played 10 more games than Celebrini, but he's played fewer total minutes. And it's like, I know that's not it, obviously, we hope. But it just seems wild. The amount of times that Torts has kind of jerked around Mishkov's minutes, benched, scratched. At some point, there isn't a lot for fans to come out and see. And I'm not saying that you fundamentally change your system, you change accountability and what needs to be done. And, I get the idea, meritocracy, earn your minutes, all that. But from an organizational perspective, the people who are filling the arena that aren't wearing Devils fans,
I hate that. I hate this response. I hate this response.
They-
Go ahead.
They are coming to see Matt.
It doesn't
Mishkov
matter.
play. They're coming to see him play.
It does not matter.
But then you're not going to be selling that many tickets. Then the last
Listen to me. Listen to me on
games.
this. It does not matter. They may be paying right now to see Matvei Mishkov, but if Matvei Mishkov doesn't become the player that you need him to become, they won't be paying for 15 years to see Matvei Mishkov.
So here's the question.
So
He's
you got to
got-
make the determination. Is it more important for Mishkov to get good and have fans be pissed off now, or is it please the fans and then maybe he doesn't develop into the player you need him to be, and down the line he's not the guy, and then the fans are unhappy down the line?
Your Honor, we are 65 games into the season, and this is the same kind of play that Mishkov has been benched for before. So,
right, and so that's why you got to keep.
things
That's why you got to keep driving it into him. That's teaching him a lesson like that. Listen, I'm hoping it's a one-period thing where he played 2 minutes. That would be a difference in the whole storyline of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Right.
If you sit him for the second and third, I don't think it does him any good at all.
Correct.
I think that just looks like a bully move. If you sit him out for the end and then you talk to him after the first, say, listen, you're responsible for the guy that was coming back. That's your tracker. You need to either get your head down, put your head down and skate hard back, or recognize who you're responsible for. But you can't just throw a guy back out there, especially if he looks like he didn't have any energy or had an unwillingness to come back and back check.
Right, and I think that this story ends up becoming, we'll determine it
by the next two periods.
By the next two periods. So I don't want to get out too far over our skis here with criticism, because if it is just for the period, I think Bundy's spot on that it's the right thing to do. But if it's something that carries forward, it's like, okay, that might be a lot. You might be pushing too hard.
Yeah.
Right? And I think
we'll
that's
check
fair.
back in second intermission postgame about
Right.
it.
I think that
was
that's
probably
fair.
the biggest story, other than the fact that, well, he was involved in the play, but the Devils have a 1-0 lead. Three of us picked the Devils to win, and one of us is coughing up a very big lead in the picks contest. So with that, let's bring on intern Andrew with his stat of the day, not the night, unless you're in Europe. Intern, how are you?
Doing great. How are you, gentlemen?
Good.
You doing good? You doing good over there, or are you nervous yet?
A lot of hockey left.
Didn't you say that the other night? Didn't you say that yesterday?
They're due.
The current standings are intern Andrew 42, Ant 40, Bundy 39, Russ 36.
Yes.
It is an ever-tightening gap. Continue.
Okay. Well, I had this stat ready, like, right when the game started.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't even seem appropriate, but I'm going to have to just power through it.
Go right ahead.
Well, coming into today, Michkov is actually tied with Macklin Celebrini for most goals in the NHL by a rookie.
Yes.
Should he outlast Celebrini this year, he would become the fourth Flyer of all time to lead the league in rookie goals.
Oh.
You know who the previous three are?
Michael Renberg is one of them.
Renberg did it once.
Did
his
Lindros?
rookie year. Not Lindros.
No.
Rick Tocchet?
Nope.
No.
What was Matt Reed's claim to fame? It wasn't leading the league in goals. Did he?
But
Matt Reed had he had one.
He had a
specific
weird.
stat.
So there was the thing. He had 24 goals in his first season in the NHL, but I don't think because of his age he qualified as a rookie that year. There was some kind of like weird thing with Matt Reed that he couldn't qualify as a rookie.
Have a little conviction, Russ.
Carter didn't, did he?
Put your foot down.
Matt Reed.
Matt Reed.
That's right. I knew
Okay.
there was something he did.
Don't let Ant-Man explain to you rookie goal scoring.
Thank you. Ant-splain.
There was something about that though. He had 24 goals that year, right?
Yeah. No, I thought was it 27 or was it 24?
24.
24 goals as a rookie.
And
Yeah,
then-
there was something about that though. I think that he wasn't. Maybe he wasn't eligible to win the Calder
Right, was he too old or
because
something?
he was too old. Because he didn't. It
That's
was a,
ageist.
well, I mean, it's a thing. I think he was 25 years old in his rookie season. So
This actually probably would be a better trivia question than the one I have ready, but whatever. The third one, you got to go back a little bit.
what year? Give me a year. I can give you a
Is it
player.
the 80s?
1972.
72.
He had 30 goals in the 72-73 season.
72.
I was 21. It was a very
I
good.
see one name on the thing, but I'm not going to yell it out.
It was.
I'm not trying. I'm not looking.
Was it alliterative?
I accidentally saw.
Yes.
Was it Bill Barber?
Yes.
Oh.
Alliterative.
Okay. I thought. Why did I think Barber had played before 72?
That's what I thought too.
Yeah. Okay. All
Here's
right.
the thing. That was a good stat of the day. But if you're telling me that's better than the trivia question, you have 28 minutes to get a better
I don't
trivia
know. Or
question.
maybe the trivia question will get you. I don't know.
Do you want to just burn the trivia question now and try again in 28 minutes?
By the way, I can't use that stat for AP today. I am the writer today. No robot today. Somebody asked.
No robot?
I forgot who it was. I think it was Kyle Adams that asked. No robot today. Robot yesterday. Human today. But I cannot use that stat.
Why not?
Because it's not appropriate to the game.
I have a good stat. Jamie Drysdale's 200th game.
Yes, I can mention that. It's his 200th game, or whatever that's.
That's the key moment of the game.
Yeah.
Key moment when they announced that it was Drysdale's 200th career game.
Be better than whatever the robot would come up with.
You're
Bundy.
doing it today, not the robot?
I am. I'm doing it today. Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Restoring a little bit of humanity, you know? Mm-hmm. Bundy, I'm trying to figure out, you know, after last night's game, we said there really weren't any good things to take away from yesterday's game.
Right.
And then we said, all right, you kind of burn the film, you come back rejuvenated, and you come back anew. Ersson not in net, we kind of figured that Fedotov would get one half of the back-to-back. What were your thoughts on Fedotov in the period?
I thought he played pretty well. I thought he was steady. There was a couple plays that were a little iffy. One bounced off the backboard. It almost found a way in behind his skate.
That was funny, that call. I was like, oh, that would have been something.
That would have been something, yeah. And then the goalie gave up. You can't really blame him for that. It was a shot with a rebound, and then the rebound shot was through traffic. I don't think Fedotov's played bad at all. I think the Flyers need to find. There was a couple times they had a groove going, but they need to find more ways to generate offense into the New Jersey zone.
I will say this, talking about having a groove going a couple times, Torts replaced Mishkov with Konechny,
Yep.
and the couple shifts that Konechny played with Tippett and Couturier,
Yep.
they had good
Yes.
puck control, good pressure in the offensive end. So I don't know, maybe we see that in Mishkov on another line.
Yeah.
In the second period, because they did look good together.
Yeah.
Especially there at the end. So that's a possibility.
Yeah. I am expecting to see Mishkov back on the ice in the second period.
I think so too. But it becomes a much bigger story if he's not.
Ivan Fedotov with a 1.58 goals against average in the month of March. That's something that you can hang your hat on.
How many games has he played, Russ?
2. Started 1. Another was in relief.
Got to start somewhere.
That's exactly right. It's funny, if you look at his month-over-month goals against, 5.35, 2.57, 6, 2.74, 4.14, 1.58.
He's all over the place.
All over. Now, in fairness, that does kind of come with, 3 games, 3 starts, 6 starts, 1 start, 5 starts, 1-1. And oddly enough, 2 of the months that he had his lowest goals against came in months where he started 5 or more games. So I will once again go on record and say that I would be fine if next year they decided to run it back with Ersson and Fedotov, and I'd like to see Fedotov get a few starts. The Iron Giant shirt's now available, shop.snowthegoalie.com.
Yeah.
That is not the only reason that I continue to campaign.
He plays
openly.
like this. I mean, if he plays solid and he keeps the goals down, I mean, why not run him for a while?
He hasn't looked bad.
No, I agree. I have no problem running this guy for a while if they feel confident in him, and why not? He played well against Winnipeg. I would have loved to have seen him get the second shot at them this week when he didn't. But, no, I mean, I don't have a problem rolling with this guy.
He was horrible in October. 6, goals against an average of 6, right?
Yeah.
Awful. 0-3-0 in that month. Fine. The rest of the season, he's had a game or two where he hasn't looked particularly great. But all things considered, with Ersson going down 3 different times this year, with Kolosov being up here, just kind of in the rotation, none of these goalies have really had much of an ability, except maybe Ersson at times, to build some consistency. I'm not saying that Fedotov is all of a sudden going to blossom into a number 1 at 28 years of age next year. But I'm not ready to give up on the guy.
No, I agree. I agree, and I'm not. And listen, if he's playing well, like I said, roll with him. If Sam's not in groove right now, let him practice his way out of it. Try to get him a start when it makes sense, even if it's in a backup role. But if Fedotov is the guy that's playing well and giving your team a chance, I have no problem with just going on a long run with this guy.
Yeah.
And it's play the back-to-backs, give the other game to Sam.
I'd be interested to know where the fans are at on it too. Do you keep going? I don't know, Bundy. I think usually we talk about this all week, but Torts kind of seem to be going back to Ersson, almost to try to get him back on track. and to like have him play out of it. He was unable to play out of it. I think it's 6 out of his last 7 games he's given up at least 3 goals. Not a great stretch at all. Do you think that if Fedotov, like say the score holds like this, or Fedotov gives up like 2 on the day or something, do you then go back to him on Tuesday? Like, does Torts start saying, you know what, he's given us a better chance of late, won that game in Winnipeg?
Yeah.
Like, is there any chance that he flips?
That's what I'm saying. If he gives, if he comes in and even if he let's say he gives up 3 goals, but he played great. I mean, yeah, I run him back again. Against it's Ottawa Tuesday, I think, coming in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's the difference at this point? Is Urson because you think he's that much better? Is it that big of a difference right now? No, not really, right?
Yeah.
Sam's out of form right now, and until he regains that form, I mean, play the guy that's played well. And the only thing we have is this period he played, and then the game in relief against Calgary, but he played stellar against Winnipeg last Saturday night. That has to mean something.
I mean, I got to think with 4 games this week that this isn't the only one that Fedotov plays.
Right.
I think they split them 2 and 2 this week. It wouldn't surprise me if it's every other night. So I think you might see Urson Tuesday, Fedotov Thursday against Tampa, and then Urson Saturday.
It's Carolina.
Against Carolina.
Yeah. Well, and again, there's no need to tax your goalies any more than you have to. You don't have to play a guy 3 out of 4 games. In 6 nights, you don't have to do that right now. So you can mix and juggle your goalies.
So I mean that's what I think we're looking at. So anything else from you there, Russell? With a minute to go here.
I don't think so.
All right.
You know what? I would just like to see a good hockey game. That's all I'm asking.
Wow. It's not been great so far.
It hasn't been like this homestand. When we looked at it, we knew it was going to be kind of brutal, right? But we thought that there could be some up moments. Bundy, when's the last time that we actually sat together in Wells Fargo Center and said, yo, Flyers played a legitimately great game?
Edmonton.
The Oilers.
Which was
2 weeks
ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
2 weeks ago from yesterday.
I just need one really nice game in here. Kind of pick the spirits back up. I have that La Colombe draft latte in my belly, so I'm feeling pretty happy because of that. If it weren't for that, I'd be pretty miserable right now.
Yeah, it's been a tough start to the home stretch, especially knowing what they had to do, what the strides they had to make. It's been rough.
I like Paperface's idea. Get Bundy a whiteboard and have him break down a defensive play every show. I have ideas for next year. There are ways to continue to expand what we do here on the Press Row Show. Some interactive stuff that we need the team's help on it, though, to execute some of it all the way.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, though, we had a nice whiteboard back here, or like
puck drop.
We could connect an iPad to it. Bundy's kind of, Bundy's breakdowns. Anyway, we'll be back. Second intermission. What was that? Second
I meant to
intermission.
put it on the microphone.
Post-game.
It slipped.
Here on the Press Row Show. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Talk to all of you in about 20-something minutes. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame intermission, a postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, west of the 51st state. I don't know why I have a hard time saying 51st so fast. 51st state in Greenland, south of the 52nd state Canada, north of the Panama Canal, and west of the Prudential Center. Although it kind of sounds like the Prudential Center in here whenever the Devils score.
North of the Prudential Center.
No, we're south.
No, we're south of the Prudential Center.
South, I mean.
But it is west. We are west of the Prudential Center, right? It's not that weird part of Jersey that juts up. Hold on. Let's go to maps.
I don't know about that.
This is actually a more interesting discussion than what happened in that.
We actually might be east of the Prudential Center.
No, we have to be west of the Prudential Center, don't we?
No.
I think we're west.
I think we're west.
I guess.
Wells Fargo Center. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
west.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Let's just show the people really quickly, because that's what they're here for.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are. Do they want analysis
Can we do
on that period?
can we do a poll?
Yeah. What do you want the poll to be? I'll throw it on the old YouTube.
Would you rather see the map that Russ is about to put up, or
Too
talk
late.
hockey?
There we go. Now, if we zoom out here, because you know how maps can be. Now, in theory, yeah, look at that. I mean, that's significantly west of the Prudential Center.
Yes, it is.
Significantly west, Anthony.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, we're back to the hockey game.
2-0 Devils. Flyers struggling again offensively to find a couple chances late. Made some nice passing plays. They were not able to capitalize on it, but not a bad period. Devils found one with a seeing eye shot that fell right onto the stick of Eric Halla in front of the net, and he's able to bury it top shelf. But not a bad period by the Flyers, just not good enough. It's been the theme of the week.
Yes.
They were definitely better that period than they were the first. But I still can't get past the fact that whenever the Devils have the puck in the Flyer zone, it seems like it's an incredibly long time.
Yes.
Right.
That the Flyers really struggle to get the puck out of their end and get going in the other
It's
direction.
been like that this whole week.
Yeah.
Against every team. The other teams have really hemmed the Flyers in. That's been really the defensive theme that I've seen through now the 3.5 games, is the fact the Flyers are getting hemmed in their zone. Other teams are making too many cute plays, too many determination plays in the zone. And the Flyers, that's what your defenseman needs to lock down the first guy with the puck, second guy come get the puck, and then support it and come out of the zone. But just, it's been way too easy for the opposition in these, like I said, almost 4 games now to generate offense in the Flyers zone.
We'll make this a slightly more interactive second period, second intermission than normal, I guess, because there's not a whole lot to break down.
Well, the one thing that we should mention, since we talked about it so much in the first period,
is that you overreacted in the first intermission, because Matvei Mishkov
I overreacted.
played nearly, what did I say, another 3? No,
another 5 minutes of 5 something,
Another
whatever. It was
5.
back to his normal rotation.
So he's at 7 minutes and 11 seconds total in the game, up from 2 minutes and 20 seconds after 1. So he's back out there. We'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, no, he took a regular shift that period.
George N asks over on YouTube, are there any fans left in the building?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great crowd
it's
down
a good
here.
crowd down here today. I mean,
Yes.
there's a good percentage of Jersey fans that came down as we expected, but I don't think it's nowhere close to like the Ranger group that comes down. I don't know. I'd say it's probably about 15% Jersey.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Shell XL still upset about the trade deadline. Says Danny should have traded Konechny and a first to Vegas for Nolan Patrick. There's a really good question here.
Okay.
This is one that's actually worthy of discussion. Jeff Rose asks, who has the hardest job in the Flyers organization?
Do we count?
No.
Just thought I'd ask.
One thing that some people I don't think understand is, the difference between what we do versus what radio does versus what TV does is like, I don't know, Bundy, how long are the actual shows on TV with all the commercials factored in? Like, how long during an 18-minute intermission are people actually talking on TV? Because it never feels like that long,
Yeah,
right?
you do
it's like
two or
in.
3 minute segments and you go back out again. And
Yeah.
It's not full time.
We just go the full 18.
Yeah.
There's no time off here on the Press Row Show.
No.
We filled this ish with as much stuff as we can. Who has the hardest job? Do you want a list of contenders?
Well, I think because it actually say that it's who has the hardest job because of how he's viewed by the fan base. There's a lot of intangibles that have to go into it, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's Danny Briere.
Yeah.
It's the GM because he's got to make about face with the moves he's making. He's got to be the one that's held accountable. He's the one that's tasked with turning this ship around. So I don't think it's anybody but Danny Briere, to be quite honest with you.
I think that he has more than bought himself some more time and patience with the fan base. I think had this trade deadline not gone the way that it did, he would have been a little bit more under fire. But I think, and I saw Charlie O'Connor, I don't remember who it was that he was either quote tweeting or replying to during that period. He made a good point in that, like, Briere did what the angry part of Flyers Twitter wanted. Not the angriest, because the angriest wanted Bristow gone and TK gone and all that. But the angry part of Flyers Twitter that wanted trades, Briere did that with the deadline. And so now their anger has to kind of pivot somewhere else. And the next likely place is probably Tortorella. And given the fact that he benched Mishkov in the first period, that seems like where it at least went early in this game.
Yeah, what's going to end up happening,
does Tortorella
Russ?
end up, does he even make the list of people who have the hardest in the organization?
No, because he doesn't care. like he doesn't care what the reaction is. So I don't think his job is any more hard because, he's a coach. Coach is coach.
Wouldn't his job of trying to get wins, because that is ultimately what he is trying to do, isn't his job now harder because of the players they've set up?
I don't think his job is harder because there's an understanding from above him that this team can only do so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so therefore, even if they go on a 10-game losing streak again here, let's just say the annual 10-game losing streak, even if it happens, you're not putting that on the coach specifically because of where the team is. So no, I don't think he's under as much duress as the general manager is the one who has to put the players on the roster, and there is certainly more pressure, I think, on getting that right going forward than I think that there is on the coach right now. So I wouldn't make his job the hardest. You want to know who's got the hardest job on the team right now?
Who's that?
Kim Dillabaugh.
Yeah. Goaltending.
Goalie coach.
Yeah.
Hardest job.
Yeah, just balancing everybody. He's had Kolosov up here, massaging egos, he's trying to fix guys so their confidence is back. It's not just about the technical parts, those aspects of a goaltender. It's very, very much part of the head as well, and getting the guys feeling good about their game.
This is maybe my favorite comment of the week. East Coast Taffy, Big Mike popping off on the organ right now.
I love it.
Mike is maybe the highlight of most games for us.
Mike's great.
Hell of an organist.
He does a great job.
Absolutely wonderful.
And the passion?
Oh, yeah.
Off the charts passion for his organ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Some guys put a lot of effort into mastering the craft of playing their organ. And he happens to be one of them.
Does an amazing job.
That's not a plastic one. That's a wood organ.
That's a real organ, yeah.
That man knows how to play that wood.
He's good.
That's what it's all about here on the Press Row Show.
And just to answer Brian Knowlton's question, is there a possibility of moving on from Dillabaugh? I mean, look, there's always a possibility, right? You never know what's really going on with the coaching staff. But I tend to think that when you have what you have, it's not the goalie coach's fault if these players aren't better than what they are. Players sometimes just are what they are. And you can point the fingers at coaches all you want sometimes. If a player is what he is, that's just it. And I give him a lot of credit because he actually got Erson to play pretty well in stretches, and worked with him and got him to be what he is. It's just that he is what he is. And that's all there is to it. He doesn't have a lot to work with. Goalie coaches they tend to last longer too. They tend to go from one coach to another.
Yes, they do. And he's been here a long time. Before him, they had Jeff Reese before him.
Jeff Reese and Reggie Lemelin.
Lemelin was here for a long, long time too. So if you have a goalie coach that the goalie's like and you're progressing with him, it can be a job you can keep for a while.
Goalie coaches usually last.
I had two comments that I'm going to link together.
Yeah.
Because, where was it at? Shadow3X over on YouTube says, Anthony has the hardest job on the podcast to help Russ realize trades don't happen like video game transactions.
That's not the only reason it's the hardest job on the podcast.
They made a bunch of trades, so I don't know what we're getting at here. But Tony Louis says, any chance they trade Konechny before his no movement clause kicks in, like what happened with Carter and Richards.
No, I think
that to me is very video gamey.
Yeah, it is. And not only that, the Carter and Richards thing was a completely different scenario of what was going on in the organization and with those individual players at that time. I don't. Konechny's not a problem at this point, right? So no, I don't think that happens.
Yeah, I think the Flyers, that bet is made, and they're going to be sleeping in that one for quite a while. Konechny's down right now. He's actually had a better game today, I think, Anthony.
Yeah.
Nothing to show for it, but he's played better.
He has played. Compared to last game when he was terrible,
Yeah.
I think tonight he's looked really much better.
Yeah, I agree. He's had a much, much better game. A lot more active.
Yeah.
Trying to make plays, trying to get shots off. He's had a lot more energy in this game today.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Even like the craziest part of my brain that says, oh yeah, you could trade Konechny. All right, there's a guy that is reportedly going to hit the free agent market out of Toronto, Mitch Marner. Here's the issue with Marner. He does have 3 seasons of over 90 points. He makes like 10.5 or 10.75 right now, I think.
Yeah.
We'll probably look for like close to 12, maybe more. All right, so say you trade Konechny to save that money. And then you're going to go and you're going to end up paying more to get Marner. Marner's not exactly like a 40-goal scorer, so it's not even like you're getting significantly better.
No, and Marner also gets to play with better players.
Yes.
He does.
So
it's yeah, like, I don't know.
I mean, I like Mitch Marner. Don't get me wrong.
I do
He's
too.
a heck of a player, but yeah, I mean, you don't swap out the one player for the other, and you pay more money and you're getting a little bit more production.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right call. We only have 5.5 minutes here, so we got to get to intern Andrew trivia.
In fairness, intern Andrew did kind of tell us that he thought his trivia question might not hold us over the way that we like it to. So,
well, I just think that the stat was a little bit better trivia, but that's okay. Since now we're post-trade deadline, we've gotten into the habit of bringing up that tankathon thing.
Yes.
Hoping for a miracle.
We're doing that post-game.
Yes.
Hoping for a miracle, the story of intern Andrew's decision to pick the Flyers until they win.
I am prepared to go down with the ship.
Okay.
That's an Encanto song.
I don't know who that is.
The movie Encanto. The Disney movie.
He doesn't know what Encanto is?
What year did it come out?
Never mind. Just keep
5 years ago, maybe? 6 years ago?
Okay. So in 2000...
We don't talk about Bruno, no. Never mind.
In 2017, we had that luck. The Devils, I think, had an 8.5% chance of getting the #1 overall pick. And the Flyers, I think, had a 2.4% chance of getting the #2 overall pick. And both of those things happened. So the Devils obviously got Nico Hischier. The Flyers drafted Nolan Patrick. Do you know the other 3 guys picked in the top 5 that year?
Miro Heiskanen, Cal McCarr, and Elias Pettersson.
Okay. Figured that you get that. So
why do I know those? Because we all freaking know them.
So 2 years before that, the Flyers and Devils again picked back-to-back. This time the Devils were pick #6 and the Flyers were pick #7. Do you know who those 2 guys were?
That was Provorov.
Yes.
And who did... who got taken right before Provorov?
Werenski went 8th.
Yes.
I'm trying to think who the Devils...
It wasn't Taylor Hall.
No.
That was earlier, right?
He was Edmonton.
Yeah, he was
Pavel Zacha.
That is correct.
Wow.
Good on you.
Yeah, I remember he's there. And someone wrote it, but I didn't see it.
Wow, good pull.
Did not see that at all.
So those were the 2.
Yes.
I'm glad you pulled the second one.
Yeah, you had to go back because he got traded to Boston, and he was kind of there. He was just a player there, like just a body. But I remember him going really high, 6th overall.
How about that? That's a good pull. I wouldn't have gotten that one.
You know the only other #2 overall pick in Flyers history?
JVR.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you Tuesday.
That was the game. That was the year that they were supposed to get the #1 overall pick, and instead of getting Patrick Kane, who you may or may not have heard of,
I have heard of him.
they have James Goddard Van Riemsdyk. Lovely guy.
And not a bad player. I mean, he's
just
still
Kane.
playing. I mean,
just not to fine play.
Well, I mean, you don't.
He's getting paid.
Russ, you don't last in the league for that long if you're not a good quality player.
Right.
Good human being.
You don't last in the league that long unless you're a quality player. You just don't.
Yeah.
Yuri Laterra got paid for a few years too.
Yeah,
no,
but he
I know
didn't get paid for over 1,000 games.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
JVR has his flaws.
Yeah,
certainly.
But he's a fine player.
Yeah.
You know what was always so frustrating, Bundy? Can you, maybe you might have felt this at some point. JVR had such a big body, but he never played big. Like, I think the expectation when he came here was, oh, we're getting another Leclerc. Like, we're getting a power
Yeah,
forward.
he wasn't
and he
that.
never played like that.
No, but I think they knew that. Like, I mean, they might have said he was big, but no one here in the time that I was covered him, and I covered a lot of years of him, no one ever said that he'd be like Johnny Leclerc. Never. He's not that kind of guy. He was a skater, playmaking, high skill type of player. But I've never heard anybody ever try to. I mean, would they like him to be like that? Sure, but I mean, you got to be willing to stand in there and take about 15 cross checks repeatedly.
Rich brought up a thing from the interview that we did with Dale Weiss the day before he got released. That wasn't us. Dale Weiss, the Dutch Gretzky.
Yeah.
Remember we brought that up to him, and he's like, I really don't like being called Dutch Gretzky.
I know he does. He does. He
We
hated
thought
it.
that was like, why does that feel to be Dutch Gretzky? No, was not a fan. That's a great one back in the archives, wherever you get your podcasts. The Dale Weiss interview. And 12 hours later, they put him on waivers.
Yeah.
Poor guy. That was part of the Snow the Goalie curse. Anybody who came on the show either ended up traded, released, or fired. We've gotten past that, right?
Right, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, Bundy, there's one period left. Intern Andrew's been saying all night, a lot of hockey left. There's not that much hockey left, but a period is a period. This Flyers team has scored 2 goals or more in a period before. What would the Flyers have to do in the first 5 minutes of this period to give themselves a chance to score 2 and force overtime?
Well, play a little bit like they did towards the end of the period, but they certainly cannot go out and just go through the motions. They got to get harder and into the middle of the ice. They got to put pucks to the front of the net, and they got to have a net front presence, which I don't think they've had a lot of in this hockey game. Meaning an extra guy in there to hack and whack for the rebounds, or 2 guys. But that would be the first thing. But Russ, establishing a forecheck and upping their physical presence. They've got to be more physical.
And anything that stands out to you, what are you looking for? Bundy gave the good explainer there. What's one guy that you're going to kind of cue in on this period just to see how he reacts?
A player that I'm going to watch?
Yeah.
I don't watch the game like that.
I'm going to be cued in on Matvei Mishkov. I want to see how he looks in this third period. Remember,
Well, I mean,
got a
he looked-
garbage time goal.
But he looked okay in the
He
second
looked good
period.
in the second
Yeah.
period.
Yeah, he looked fine in the second period. I try to watch it more holistically. I try to look at the whole thing instead of watch one guy, because if I get caught doing that, I may miss something else.
You missed the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
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 Puck drop.
All right, we'll be back post-game here on the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame intermission and post-game show. Talk to all of you very soon. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame intermission and postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator, west of the 51st state Greenland, south of the 52nd state Canada. And 3-1 is your final. Realistically, 2-1, a very last-second empty net goal on a face-off at center ice. And Flyers lose this one. Bundy, I don't even know what there is to say about this. Saturday's game, we said just kind of like burn the film, try to start anew against a heated rival, a team that you really don't like. We knew that there'd be a lot of Devils fans in attendance today. There were moments that it sounded like a Devils home game, particularly when they scored goals. But
it wasn't as bad as any Rangers that we see on like Thanksgiving, though. No.
But it still had a little bit of an extra sting there. A lot of let's go Devils chants up here on our level, which we don't like or appreciate near the Snow the Goalie sports book. Any good takeaways? My only good one is Fedotov. I think kept them in this game. That's about it.
Thought he played pretty well. Again, it was better than yesterday. I thought some guys had a lot better games. Konechny had a good game today. We hadn't seen that in a little while, like where I thought he activated himself. Drysdale with a nice goal. Mishkov, after the first period, I think, those are the things where sometimes, it's good to have a back seat and take a look sometimes at the mistakes he made, because he did really perform well in the second and third. I don't always agree with benching a guy, but I think if you're trying to correct a mistake and maybe something that you don't know the gist of what went on, if you've been told many times and the coach said, I've been telling you, now I got to sit you. But he put him back out on the ice, and Mishkov responded perfectly in this hockey game today. So it was not as bad a game for the Flyers as yesterday. They're just, again, they're limited in their scoring ability and their scoring touch because of the players they have. But I don't think there's anything that you could say the Flyers didn't work hard in this game today. They worked hard. They just didn't get the payoffs.
The Mishkov thing is something that when we got into the first intermission show, we made kind of a big deal out of. And the big takeaway there was, let's see how the second and third play out, because you don't want to overreact. Presumably it was the glass goal. Mishkov didn't get back and help defensively. And so the thought might have been that Torts was trying to send him a message. He only played 2 minutes and 20 seconds in the first period. He ended up playing, I think, around 5 minutes or so in the second period. And then on the day, let me just see if I can get the final stats and the box score here pulled up real quick. By the time the game was all said and done, Mishkov ends up with 13 minutes and 50 seconds in the game, which puts him pretty much like dead center, maybe lower center of the pack. So he played the minutes that you would expect him to after that first period.
He did. And he played a very good hockey game. Got some shots through to the net, set some guys up, made some good plays, moved his feet. Yeah, he responded exactly how you'd want to see a young guy respond after that rough first period that he had to endure.
The unfortunate thing for the Flyers is they're in the midst of this 7-game stretch in 11 days. Now, Bundy, I want to transport us back to, last Tuesday when we were sitting here together, and I said to you, hey, how hard is it to play an extended home stretch? You said that you maybe get a little bit too comfortable. You get out of rhythm because you're spending so much time at home. Not saying that the players have kind of maybe gotten a little bit too cozy in their own beds. Not saying that there's still a hangover of Scott Laughton being gone. But 4 straight losses in the midst of a 7-game homestand is far from ideal.
Yeah, it's not what you want, Russ. But, I mean, at the same time, like they've made a lot of trades. There's a lot of guys that got called up from the minors, so your level of skill is going to go down just because of that. It's not a shot at anybody coming from the minors. The guys that have come up have done a fairly good job, but it's like remember before you said, well, you put NHL players back in the lineup and you get a different result. They just don't have that right now, and that's part of the rebuild. And when you think about Morgan Frost and Joel Farabee going to Calgary, I mean, that's 2 big subtractions as well beyond just the trade deadline day where you lose Laughton, Johnson, and Kuzmenko, who was not here for a long time, but. There's a lot of things right now with this team that just aren't really glued together because of the symmetry, and there's no symmetry right now because they have a lot of guys that haven't been together, trying to figure out new line combinations, some new D pairs. Goaltending's been a little bit shaky. I thought Fedotov played well today, but for the most part, thanks, buddy. For the most part, I think they just have to continue working, and I don't know how many results people are expecting to get, but it is deflating going 0 for 4 on your to start your 7-game homestand.
Well, Tony Louie here says that he changed from Pepe, I think it was from Pepe the Frog, right, with the Flyers jersey to an orange tank for the rest of the season. You mentioned Frost and Farabee, and I think that when they initially got traded, we thought, all right, well, there goes your playmaking in Frost, there goes one of your potential goal scorers in Farabee. They ended up kind of bridging the gap there a little bit better than I think expected, but the Kuzmenko trade, although kind of under the radar relative to the Lawton hype, if you think about it, Danny was on here pregame yesterday and said that Kuzmenko had really helped them on the power play. The Flyers didn't get a power play in this game until the third period. It was about halfway through the third. It feels like that was another big loss for them. Losing a guy who can contribute on the power play, a unit that has struggled in large part all season.
But you move on from it. There's nothing you can do. You can't like look back and say, "Oh my God, we don't have Andrei Kuzmenko. What are we going to do?" No, I mean they moved him out for certain reasons, and especially for long-term stuff. If you weren't going to sign him to a long-term deal, then you had to move him again, and they got an asset back for him, at least a pick. But yeah, did he make the power play better? Yes, but might it have been just for a stint? That's what his MO has been elsewhere. So, again, if you weren't going to keep him a long time, he had to go.
Ant,
Yeah.
hello.
Hey, good to talk to you. Good to see you guys.
How are you? So you're not the robot was not getting compensated today.
No.
So you're the AP
No,
guy.
they're compensating me instead. The thing that's interesting here is that, and Bundy was talking about how they were better, and they certainly were better tonight than they were in the last 3 games here at home. But the offense continues to be non-existent.
Fluttering.
In the last 14 games, the Flyers have scored 2 goals or fewer 8 times.
Yeah.
That's not good.
They stink.
That's just not a good number. You got to be better than that. And I thought some guys were better tonight, just as Bundy said, didn't get rewarded. By the way, Jake Allen, who was the goalie for the Devils tonight, how do you like this? It's only his 24th game this year.
Yeah.
He's second in the NHL in shutouts.
Yeah, he had one against the Flyers last game.
Yeah.
Last time they played, yeah.
Yeah. He's second in the NHL in shutouts behind only Connor Hellebuck.
It's amazing.
For a backup
games.
goalie. Yeah, right? It's pretty incredible. So, he's got a good feel for the Flyers right now, too. But, again, most goalies do at this point.
There are people who are bringing up the penalty there that Sanheim took at the end. Let me see. There were a few. Where are we at? There was the Lisa over on X calls it a terrible penalty. There's somebody. Oh, there we go. Bob Kelly over on YouTube says Sanheim can't take that penalty. So undisciplined.
You know what though, and it might be an undisciplined penalty.
Some people called it a soft penalty. What did you think?
Just wasn't needed.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's more that than soft or stupid. It just was not. I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think it honestly makes a difference if he takes that penalty or not. But these people.
The late leaving crowd.
That's that guy's mating call. That's why he hasn't seen a woman in a very long time.
He's still celebrating the Eagles parade. Did you see that?
He's still celebrating it.
Yeah, still celebrating it.
He doesn't even know it ended yet.
He just woke up under a bridge.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, fans are going to look for something to cling to at any time, right? And the most recent mistake is that penalty. But there are so many other things that took place in this game that you could sit there and say, that could be a contributor to why the team's not playing well. I look at face-offs, and it's something that the Flyers used to be good at, and they're just not anymore. But when the 4 Devils centers were on, they were winning face-offs at 63% in this game.
It's pretty good. That's significant.
That's a significant difference.
Yeah.
And we talked earlier about puck possession and how it felt like the Devils were controlling the play and controlling the puck in the Flyers' end a lot of the game.
Yep.
It starts there.
Yep.
It starts in those face-offs. And so a lot of times it's like, it's just a face-off. Well, guess what? They didn't particularly lead to goals against, except maybe the empty netter. But the reality of it is that you're chasing the play right away if the other team's got the puck 63% of the time on draws.
Yeah, and that's repossession, right? Like that's exactly what that is. Yeah, it's hard. That makes a big difference for what you're doing offensively when you have that much possession time off of one face-off. Makes a huge difference on special teams also, big time.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of that in this hockey game today. There was only 2 penalties called, 1 for each team, I believe.
Yeah.
I will just say the same thing that I've been kind of saying here for about the last few games at least. I'd go back to Fedotov on Tuesday. Over the last 2.5 weeks, to me, he gives you your best chance of winning. If the goal is ultimately to have the best chance of winning, Fedotov has looked better, delivered on the road against Winnipeg.
You're going to die on this hill, aren't you?
I am.
You're Mr. Fedotov.
Because I'm right.
Russ.
Harrison's given up 3 goals or more in 6 of 7 games.
Yeah, okay. You don't. Neither goalie is good. Let's be.
I think Fedotov's okay.
Come on, Russ.
I'd go back to Fedotov on Tuesday.
It doesn't matter.
Give me a quantifiable reason.
Because Ottawa's a much better offensive team than New Jersey.
Okay.
I mean, Fedotov only faced 23 shots in this game.
24. I'm pretty sure it was 24.
It was 24 for the Flyers, 23 for
Yeah, at least the Flyers won the shots.
Yeah. I mean, New Jersey's not a big offensive team. Like, you keep putting him, I was impressed by his game against Winnipeg. That was the one that impressed me. I'll give you that one.
He was great.
He was really good in that one because that's a really good offensive team, and he did a really good job in that game. But I can't go off of one game, and he was fine today. But I don't think he didn't stand on his head and be like, "Oh my God, we got to go right back to Fedotov. He's playing so well."
No, but the Flyers made a lot of boneheaded plays in their own end.
Yeah, but there weren't a lot of shots on goal. There weren't a lot.
Not a lot of offense either way today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's fine. Like I don't know.
I don't have a problem myself rolling with Fedotov though. I said it during the second intermission. Like if you just feel like the feeling is that we're going to have a better chance of a better result with him in there, leave him in there. And I agree with you, Anthony, too. You said It doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You could play either guy on Tuesday night. It would make no difference to me. But I do think Fedotov looks and feels a little bit.
He seems a little bit more confident
right now.
Nobody's trying to. Hey,
but they're going to split.
The same way that pregame you were like, "Hey, I'm not trying to say sign a goalie to a 6-year deal." I'm not saying that Fedotov is now all of a sudden some bona fide number one.
They're going to split the games though, Russ. They have 4 games this week. They're going to split them. They're going to go 2-2.
I think that the more games that you can, I'm not saying flip it now and make Fedotov the starter and Harrison the backup. I think that as you're going into this offseason, you're trying to evaluate everything and you're trying to give yourself the best possibility to. If a team is interested in Fedotov, some good game film.
And remember what I said. Remember what I said.
No, I forget a lot of things you say.
Bundy wasn't here for this, so I'll repeat it again because it was on pregame. I'm not convinced Ivan Fedotov's in the NHL next year.
Really?
Yes.
Back home to Russia?
Somewhere in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not convinced.
Lancher says he's going to Siberia. That you have him going to Siberia. So just I'm going to really quick because we've made this now something that we do post game just to kind of update people on where things stand.
Well, here we go.
There are other games to go down. Well, listen, it's just there's a very large portion of the live viewership.
I will say the 3 teams closest to the Flyers behind them all play today. So if Anaheim wins, they pass the Flyers, and then if both Pittsburgh.
No, Anaheim's already passed the Flyers by virtue of this.
They only have 61 points. Flyers have 62. They have to win tonight to pass the Flyers.
But the Flyers have played 65 games.
It doesn't. It's based on points, Russ.
Clearly not, because if it were,
Russell.
What?
If at the end of the season, if at the end of this, Russ, if at the end of the season, the Flyers have 62 points and Anaheim has 61. Who has?
I'm saying that based on right now, this is where they have it. Yes, I understand how points work, and I understand how the inverse proportionality of points work relative to the draft lottery. I am merely pointing out to you that right now, they are in the 7th place. So we're just going to allow for it.
Yeah.
All right.
Fine. Whatever.
So here we go. Really quickly, we're gonna run this now. Remember, virtually every time we've done it, they've fallen. Good juju after this loss. And they fall to 8th.
Yeah.
And Anaheim, who you called out, way to go.
See what happens? Yeah.
Jumps up to number 1.
That's great.
So, all right. Well,
yeah.
There's always
I'm glad Tankathon goes by points percentage. The NHL goes by points. So we'll do it that way. All right. Thank you. That's for Mr. Nerd Database too, who hates me as well, which is
Nerd
great.
Database?
I don't know. He just says Ant just says that he says the show would be better without me. So
where's that at?
You don't see that comment?
No.
Come on.
See, I don't do this. I don't bring the comments up like that. He does. There is a guy who wanted on Twitter who wanted you to admit that I've been right the whole time. I'm not going to ask for that. But the Flyers are doing ultimately what the people like me wanted.
They're not tanking.
They're competing. But they have lowered the ceiling, lowered the floor. They've traded away. I didn't say they're tanking.
Okay.
They have lowered the ceiling, lowered the floor. This is the team.
You can never deliberately tank.
Yeah, they're not tanking.
Unless by you putting the players on the ice that are substandard.
Correct. And that's where we've wanted them, and this is where they are. Now, it's going to be painful. Like, look, if you look ahead to the next however many games, like, it doesn't get particularly great. They are home against Ottawa, home against the Lightning, home against the Hurricanes to finish out this homestand. Then you're at Tampa, at Washington, at Dallas. Chicago, though. At Chicago. At Toronto. Home against Montreal. I mean, like, this is brutal. I know there's always the joke about the annual 10-game losing streak, but, like, realistically,
it's a realistic possibility here.
Unfortunately, it's in play here.
It's a possibility.
So,
We
guys,
got a long way to go.
we will be back on Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday. Some amalgamation of all of us. This might actually be the last time that the three of us are together doing a post-game show until the following week.
Yeah.
Are you gone all week, Anthony?
No, I'm here Tuesday, but
Okay.
Russ is not.
No, I might be here Tuesday. It all depends on a meeting.
Yeah.
So I'll either be here and it'll be all three of us, or it'll be just you two. Then Ant is out Thursday and Saturday.
Right, I'm out Thursday, Saturday. I'll be
Andrew
at spring
will be here,
training.
Andrew will be here, and
The
yeah.
three of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thursday and Saturday, I'm in Clearwater.
Oh, must be nice.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Bundy, would you rather be in Clearwater right now?
Yes, I
Yeah.
absolutely would. Phillies are mopping up the Orioles right now in an afternoon game.
12
training.
to 2, I think it is. I think
Yeah,
it says over there.
12-2, yeah.
I'll tell you what, there's nowhere I'd rather be. I'm right here with you guys here on the Press Row Show.
We got 4 of them out in 6 games. Did the hard part of the
Yeah,
schedule.
we did the hard part. Now it's the
Free to
coast.
go on this homestand.
Yep.
So, big thank you to everybody who joined us live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Remember, this show is available in the podcast feed. We usually clip up the post game and put it in there. Over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. Once the home stretch is over, not this upcoming week, but the following week, we'll get back into our regular rhythm of being in the studio and doing the live show on Tuesdays. But while we're doing this and all the times down here, we're just doing Press Row Show. So thanks for hanging in there with us, and we'll see if the Flyers maybe pick it up at some point. So until Tuesday, this has been the Press Row Show, presented by Snow the Goalie, the only Flyers podcast. We will talk to every one of you Tuesday night here from Wells Fargo Center. Have a great night, everybody.